The views and opinions expressed on this program are those of the hosts, guests, and contributors, and are not those of WKYU-TV, its management, or WKU.
All right, TopperTalk is back, all up in your mix like Betty Crocker, giving you the latest and greatest in the WKU sports world.
This is Bowling Green, man.
Sorry, man. I'm not all about brand savvy around here, man. I just spit out whatever rhyme I decide to spit out. Right. You're just going to have to accept it, all right? All right, welcome back to the show, Shane.
Hey, I was here last week.
I know you were. What are you wearing?
I wasn't here.
Welcome back to the show.
We finally got his tongue off the pole outside from that cold weather.
Yeah.
We said that
Took
at
a
the
little
show. I don't
pride.
know if you
Cold
caught
weather.
that last week.
Yeah.
So,
It's
there's
all
nothing
good.
else better to do in Russellville besides.
I watched Christmas Story 74 times over the month of
You know
December,
not to do
and
that?
I should have learned my lesson, but you know.
But you can't refuse that triple dog dare.
That's
I'm
right.
sorry.
So we got a full crew here. The three amigos are back, so excited about that, and we got a lot to talk about. Obviously, can really say a lot went on the past week here at WKU.
Been a busy week.
It's been a busy week, of course, with the departure of Bob Petrino back to Louisville, and something that me and you were talking about last Monday was said it was kind of a long shot, even though I kind of got word that he might be interviewed for the job, but I still thought even if he was interviewed, it would be a long shot for him to get it. So.
You know, like we talked about, I just really didn't think Louisville was going to risk that again after, everything, but, leave it to...
It's all about winning in college football,
It is.
man.
Well, and leave it to Tom Jurek.
What? What are you
he's got Patino, and now he's got Petrino, so,
It's a dynamic duo right there.
Yeah, one thing I'll say about, spending my freshman year of college up there when Petrino was still at Louisville, they love him in that town,
Yeah.
Regardless of all the stuff that he did, they want to win games, and, they think he's a guy that's going to do it, so I guess that's sort of the thought process there, but I was still surprised to see it happen.
Yeah.
Well, it took Petrino a 9-hour interview to convince him that he wasn't going to just walk away and be the same old guy.
Well, you got to admit, at least Juris did his homework and had a 9-hour sit-down interview with him, and answered all the questions that I guess needed to be answered. So I guess he got the.
I think he told Petrino that if he was lying to him, that he was going to kill him.
Yeah, I think that was true. I don't know if that was a real threat or that was just in passing.
He quoted himself.
Well, I know, but
saying that. So
I say that to you too sometimes, but I don't really mean it.
Well, that's true. But I think Tom might. It is Louisville after all.
Okay.
They got all them Italians in Louisville.
First 48 hours, has several.
They do
episodes.
tape there. They do tape there, and it might be a live episode coming up pretty soon. We'll see. But anyway. Of course, Petrino leaves after 1 year. Something that Western Kentucky fans honestly expected, in my opinion. I mean, I thought he might be here 2 years at the most, but that paves the way for a great hire for WKU. And really, Western Kentucky, you talk about the Petrino issue and going to Louisville. Western Kentucky, came out smelling like a rose in this deal. I mean, making money from the contract, and you get a nice young head coach that's ready to be a head coach and lead this team in the Conference USA. You get Jeff Brom is a new guy. The Brom era is officially here, so everybody's really excited around here. A lot of positive energy in the press conference Friday afternoon, and a lot of people are pumped, man. They're pumped about Brom.
It's like you said, Western came out smelling like a rose. I mean, it couldn't have really worked out any better for Western.
They made money.
They made money.
Got their next head coach.
Set all kinds of offensive records last season. I mean, you basically have a guy who, is one of the up-and-coming assistants and coordinators in the game. He's learned under Petrino. He's learned under a whole lot of other great coaches.
Yeah.
A lot of great players in the NFL, and, he's coming in here with the experience, and, I think he'll take us to the next level.
Yeah, I think so.
I would love to know where Brom would have rated on Todd Stewart's list of coaches before the Petrino hire. Because to me, this is the kind of guy that would have been an ideal hire for me last year when we hired Petrino. So to get a guy that you think that we would want that much then, and to get him now and make money and have the team in a good position moving forward, it's definitely a win-win situation for sure.
I think it's an important aspect to kind of bring up in the press conference that Brom really talked about how this year he kind of prepared himself to be a head coach, with Petrino. I think maybe, Petrino kind of looked at Brom being with him in this year and maybe kind of seeing into the future, maybe not the Louisville job opening up, but maybe, a couple of years down the road or whatever, that maybe he wanted to prep Brom up to be the next head coach here. And Brom said, he really did pay attention to a lot of the details that Petrino did as a head coach, outside from coaching the team as well. So, I mean, definitely learned a lot from him, especially this past year, and I'm sure the years before he's worked with him and his other stops as well. So, definitely really deserving to get his shot here, and I'm glad Western Kentucky decided to kind of pull that trigger and give him a shot.
You know, like they talked about a lot in the press conference was the continuity. It continues continuity with the players that are currently here.
Mm-hmm.
They're not having to learn a complete new system. I mean, obviously there'll be adjustments, but you know, at least Brom's offense will probably be somewhat similar because that's what he's played under and that's what, you know, he's coached under and everything else. So, you know, I imagine a lot of the same plays and stuff will still be there. You know, and retaining the assistant coaches that he was able to, you know, with Holt and some of the other guys.
Yeah,
I mean, that's real big with preserving continuity and keeping recruits and stuff like that.
Yeah, you talk about the continuity. I think it really starts with the assistant coaches that decided to come back. I mean, a lot of them could have went with Petrino up to Louisville, but decided to stay here with Coach Brom and, you know, try to, you know, ride the ship out. They really see – I like what they said in the press conference, especially Nick Holt saying that Western Kentucky is a sleeping giant program. They can really explode and wanting to stay here and be a part of that and be a part of, you know, Jeff Brom's first staff. So,
you know, and we've said it before that, you know, Western's facilities in football or, you know, in athletics in general are right up there with some of the best in the country. You know, recruits all the time when they come on campus, they rave about how, you know, our facilities are just as good as people like Florida and places like that, you know. So I think that's real big too, and that goes with the sleeping giant thing. You know, if you have good facilities, you get good coaches, you start winning. I mean, who's to say that Western can't be the next Boise State or whoever?
Yeah, just takes that consistency. Go ahead, Woody.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, you know, especially, you know, as we make the transition with conference and everything, you know, everything's definitely going in a huge positive direction right now. You know, I'm much more of a basketball guy than a football guy, but it's hard for me to not get excited about, you know, where the direction of the football program is going. You know, we get to keep this nice recruiting class that was rated number 1 last I looked in Conference USA. That's mostly staying intact, and you know, things they're definitely looking up. I'm excited for sure.
Yeah.
Ready for football season to get back here.
Everybody's excited, and just like you said, recruiting class, and you brought it up as well, Woody. And that carries over. The continuity carries over into that class because you really, I mean, just doing what I do for rivals and everything, talking to them, they have much respect to recruits too that are currently part of this class for Jeff Brom. And even the ones that are not directly involved with Brom or Brom's not directly in the recruiting process, you know, other recruits and commitments hold them in high regard, and they let them know that too. So, I mean, it's a lot of excitement around the recruiting class, continuity. Obviously, you make that transition. You have the same assistant coaches coming back. You got Jeff Brom, the new head coach. Recruiting class is probably going to stay intact for the most part. Wouldn't be shocked to see one or two, you know, maybe flip or something like that. But, hey, it happens whenever there's a coaching change. So, you know, it's to be expected. But we obviously we got some Twitter interaction, so we encourage you guys out there to holler at us on Twitter at TopperTalk TV. Give us your reaction, your response, your thoughts on the Jeff Brom hire. He is the new WKU head coach. A lot of people around here are extremely excited about that. And you get a new head coach that leads you into a new conference, which we're excited about as well. So we already got some reaction, maybe somewhat negative reaction here by Andrew G. Thomas on Twitter at Andrew G. Thomas. Asked him what he thoughts on the Brom hire. He says, I don't care. He's a good guy, but we'll probably leave like the rest of them.
You know, and we were talking.
It's a real Debbie Downer statement, man.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a Debbie Downer. But, you know, we talked about this, you know, before the show that and it goes the same with basketball. If Western can get that coach who will stay, who will pass on, you know, the extra $700,000 a year or whatever,
What?
and stay
Extra 700 G's.
Yeah, and just stay, you know, for a couple more years. You know, they'll get a big payday here, and then, you know, they can run Bowling Green, they can run Warren County. I mean, they'll be making so much money here that, you know, it won't matter wherever
Just
else
run
they
the whole
win.
county,
Yeah.
like the police department and
Yeah,
everything.
they'll run everything.
Sounds like the mob,
They
man.
could fall off the back of a motorcycle with a volleyball player, and they would be able to keep their job.
We went there. That happened.
That just happened.
Way to go, Shane. Way to keep
Hey,
it light
he's
on the
gone now,
program.
right?
Yeah, well, I guess that's true. Go ahead, Woody, with your thoughts after that statement.
I mean, obviously that's what we all want is for a coach to stick around. That's definitely the ideal situation. I mean, we haven't seen much of that over the years. You know?
No, we haven't.
You would have thought if anybody would have done that, you know, Taggart would have been the guy, you know, but, you know, you never know. Brom might be the kind of guy that wants to stick it out. He seems to be a pretty family-oriented guy. Not that Taggart wasn't or anything by any means, but
Yeah.
so I mean, even if it does,
Opportunity.
well, you know, even if it does work out to where you know, he stays and has success for a few years and then does move on, I think, you know, we've set the tone of continuity already. So hopefully at that point, you know, we've already had the the next coach on staff and just make the move then,
Yeah. And, another thing, too, about, transition and if he'll stay or not, he's a new head coach. That's one. So you see a lot of times new head coaches will stay in the same place, wherever they start out for a few years, 5 or so. And unless they have, amazing success here, which we hope we do. But, he has a chance to prove himself. And obviously we're not going to be worried about if he has a successful year in his first year, he won't be going somewhere else because he's just a new coach. So I think a lot of people that maybe see that, other programs after every year that are kind of looking for head coaches, they're going to wait for him to kind of build up a resume as a head coach.
Yeah, but, look at what Arkansas State's gone through with 5 coaches in 5 years.
Well, that's
with
Arkansas
new
State,
coaches.
man.
I'm just saying it's possible. Gus Malzahn had 1 year as a head coach at Arkansas State, and then he coached the national
that's
championship.
Gus Malzahn, though. That's a little bit different character there. I mean, he's...
I'm just...
he was offensive coordinator at Auburn when they won the title, and...
He's kind of a sleeping giant of a coach.
Well, Gus Malzahn had a big resume. It just happened he wanted out of Auburn when Gene Chizik was there, and he went to Arkansas State to be a head coach, and he had a year of head coaching that people could see on his resume along with coordinator positions, and that's a little bit different animal right there.
It is, but I'm just saying it's entirely possible.
You're being negative, man.
I'm not saying he has to go to Auburn and coach the national championship next year. I'm just saying. But you were talking about having success in his first year. We got some more interaction on Twitter wanting to know. Graham Thurman. I hope I said Graham right. I think that's
give his Twitter account, Twitter handle a shout out at Graham_Thurman.
At Graham_Thurman.
Yeah. In case you want to follow him out there.
Yeah.
In case you think he's.
But he wants to know: do we think Jeff wins a bowl game in his first year as head coach at Western?
Yes.
You think he will?
Yeah, I think so.
I'll go. Yeah.
I'm waiting for this year. We got a few. Turnover in different positions and things like that.
A lot of defensive turnover,
especially linebacker and secondary. But I really think this team's capable of just the talent that we've been recruiting and everything like that, and the talent we already have on the roster that played minutes and we're playing behind the depth chart, maybe second string and things like that got playing time. They'll step up next year.
Well, if we have at least a 7-5 record next year, we won't have to worry about whether or not we get a bowl game.
This is another aspect. That's why I say, yeah. As far as going to a bowl game, yes. Winning it, I believe we could probably win a bowl game if we go to it. I mean, this team looks really good, and you got to think. It all goes back to the continuity thing that we were talking about earlier. You got the same offensive scheme, you got the same defensive scheme. Second year, players are used to it. So, it's going to be a little bit smoother transition. You see they kind of struggled with that aspect last year for a little bit. Lost some games that we probably should have won against, South Alabama, obviously, against Troy. But it's going to be a little bit different this year. Players are going to be used to it. It's going to be kind of come to spring practice, come to camp, do all the summer. It's going to be the same type of deal. So
it's a transition, but it's not really a transition.
Exactly, transition, but not really schematically speaking. Right. So that helps out the players a lot, and even Cam Thomas and Willie McNeil was stressing that after the press conference Friday. I mean, they were really saying, hey, we don't have to worry about learning a new offense or learning a new defense or anything like that. So it's really going to help us out. So. But, yeah, I think very capable of going to a bowl game and winning it next year. And it's like you said, Shane, we ain't got to worry about it. If we're bowl eligible, we'll be going to a bowl game.
Yep.
We ain't got to, call and make sales pitches to other bowl committees and everything like that. So.
Got to be a load off Todd Stewart's mind.
Yeah, I think so.
He might still make some sales pitches to try to get to a closer bowl. But
yeah, I think so. I think there's that. But,
trying to sell the program on invite us over something.
Yeah,
so,
exactly. Invite us over an ACC at-large team, which, is hardly ever going to happen, if they have that capability. So, but you talk about, Todd Stewart and as well. That's another important cog in all this, is Todd Stewart recognizing talent.
We need to hang on to him.
And hiring it.
And
another thing that's really cool, when you got Gary Ransdale, the president, also a very important factor. Yeah, the real prez. Yeah. But I liked during the press conference because one of the important factors about the contract and making the switch and the coaching change and everything is trying to get that home series with Louisville. So that's kind of yet to be worked out, but I think that's going to be left up to Petrino. But you got to know that Louisville wants to buy out of that really bad.
Judging from their press conference, that's definitely the way it sounded to me.
But the thing I liked about Gary Ransdale is he kind of reiterated that it's like, no, it's like, it'll happen. Don't worry, they'll be coming here to play us. So I kind of like that aspect. I think it's cool to see WKU's kind of stand firm in that because we've talked about it before on the show. having to do this quote-unquote home-and-home series, it's not really a home-and-home series with Kentucky, and going to Nashville, that's fine and dandy and everything. It holds more, capacity and everything like that. But you want a true home-and-home series with an in-state school here, and to have that with Louisville would be just absolutely huge.
Yeah.
Here. And then, we got Vanderbilt coming here in a couple of years.
Ole Miss with the Ross Bjork.
Yeah,
deal too.
so that's really good. But, to have a home-and-home with Louisville, that's going to be huge for everybody around here. So, I know Diddle doesn't hold very much, but you know what? That's going to be rocking. 22,000. Diddle. Did I say Diddle?
You did say Diddle.
Hutchinson Smith.
But Diddle was rocking when Louisville
Diddle
came.
was. That's right. Diddle needs to be doing some more rocking, and we'll get to that here in a few minutes. But Tyler Waddell at Tyler_Waddell, and that's Tyler with the O, by the way. He actually asked us which one of you guys was the guy that hollered out during the presser.
Woody, was that you?
If I would have been there, it probably would have been me. Yeah.
It was I don't know who it was, but it was an older gentleman, and he was really excited about the Jeff Brom hire, and I think he actually asked about the Louisville home and home series, which prompted the reaction from Gary Ransdale that he said, it's in the contract, it's up to Petrino, and we expect to play Louisville here in a home and home series.
Well, Louisville is actually has a history of being pretty good about honoring those type of contracts. They before they became, I guess, one of the big boys, so to speak.
How come we play them in Nashville sometimes in basketball? I'm just throwing that out there, man.
It holds more. You said it yourself.
I don't like that, though. Just because it holds more doesn't mean I really want to play down there.
That was just a contract that was signed. That wasn't ever anything that was in a
I'm just
clause.
But
that Louisville's been pretty good about that because before they, moved up, back when they were still in Conference USA and all that, they had trouble getting teams to schedule them too.
Yeah.
And back when they were trying to make the move up, in football, Western helped them out a lot. By scheduling them and playing them when a lot of other teams wouldn't play them either.
So I think what you're essentially saying is Louisville is more of an ally than the University of Kentucky.
Oh, definitely.
That's kind of what you're saying.
Yeah. Louisville and Western definitely have more history with each other than Western and UK do.
Yeah. I agree with you on that. So, like I said,
Louisville has been to Diddle. That says enough about their willingness to work with us there.
And I think at the time they came here, what were they ranked in basketball?
They were top 5.
They were top 5, I believe, yeah. So, kudos to them for actually playing us here, unlike other teams in the state that we can think of that we beat twice in a row in football.
Yep.
By the way, I like that look tonight, Shane. Looks really cool. All right, so we got Brom. We're excited. You guys excited?
I'm excited. I'm pumped.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm ready to cover spring football right now.
Yeah.
But obviously,
I'm ready for fall football to start, though.
First things first. He's got to hit the recruiting trail really hard, which I'm sure he's already doing, even though it's a dead period. But there is that parameter where you can contact a recruit once a day.
James Franklin's already flipped 3 recruits from Vandy to Penn
James
State
Franklin
during
working
the
his
dead
magic
period.
at Penn State. So, but yeah, I'm excited to see how the recruiting class ends up. Like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if 1 or 2 flip. Wouldn't be too much of a shocker. It's kind of to be expected when head coaches, when there's a turnover there or whatever. But I think it'll be really exciting. And then after that, it'll be spring football, and we'll get to see what they look like on the field, everything like that. So we're really excited. And you got your T-shirts, hats, hashtags? You got that paraphernalia?
Brahms away.
Brahms away.
Take us to the Brahms land.
I like Brahms Land. That was a good one.
I kind of like Brahms over Baghdad, even though we're not in war.
Ooh.
But I did like
Pull
that
some
one.
Outkast in.
Brahms over BGs.
Anytime you can reference Outkast is always a good one.
Good.
Any other hashtags, creative Brahm hashtags you guys got for us? If you guys
I've
out there watching, listening on WKU PBS or Ustream, hashtag us some cool Brahm hashtags.
Yeah.
Not the ones we've already heard like Brahms away and all that. Let's get something creative. So
Jaeger Brahms. Hilligans was
Shout out
serving
to
some of
him.
those.
yeah, you didn't hit any
I
of
didn't
those before you
partake.
came over.
No.
Okay, I'm just checking. All right. So obviously pretty clear. We're pretty excited about the Jeff Brom hire. So we should move on to some, well, I guess bad news. A really bad loss in Diddle Thursday night. To
Awful.
The Georgia State Panthers, who, well, really we considered probably one of the best Sun Belt teams that we're going to face this year. And, yeah, it was, Western showed some fight until the second half, and, of course, they're down by 5 at halftime, and then Georgia State just comes out and routs them with a 15-0 run in the second half, and the game's pretty much over. Shane, your thoughts? You look really disturbed over there.
I mean, it was an awful game.
I'm anxious to hear.
We talked about it.
Get the bleeper ready.
Again before the show. Yeah.
Fade him out.
Got the bleeper. But, We talked about it before the show. I think that was probably the worst game I've seen Western play in Diddle. The second half, I'll specify. I think the second half was the worst
They were scrappy
half of basketball I've seen Western play in Diddle in person.
Yeah, I agree.
And I've sat through Felton's first year, Kilcullen games, some bad K-Mac games, and that one was just bad. And I don't necessarily fault Harper. I mean, he can prepare his team and stuff, but I think once the second half started, we started cold. Georgia State started hitting shots. I think the players just kind of got psychologically down on themselves, and from there it was kind of Harper wasn't able to reel them in to do what they had game planned to do. Georgia State, from what I saw, they are not a good defensive team. I still don't think they're a good defensive team. They're an awful They're an awful rebounding team, but they couldn't miss a lot of times, and they hit 22 of 22 free throws, 100% from the free throw line.
Hey, take heed, Western. That's what we need to be doing.
I mean, and they played good free throw defense because we only shot 50%.
Yeah.
But we just couldn't hit a shot. They're at one point in the second half
I do play good free throw defense, by the way.
You just do.
Tie somebody's shoe or just say psych before they shoot it.
But at one point in the second half, the first 14 minutes of the second half, we were 3 for 22 from the field. I mean, you're not going to win games shooting that low of a percentage, having the other team hit every free throw and shoot, 53% for the second half. Yeah. And, they limited their turnovers as well. I thought, when Western got into a press, I thought that worked pretty well for Western, but they just didn't do it enough. Mm-hmm. Georgia State, I think, is one of those teams that relies on ugly basketball, a lot of street ball type stuff going on. We were talking about that, out there. A lot of one-on-ones.
Oh, okay.
And
I thought you meant off the backboard.
No, not that kind of street ball. But just
a lot of the professor out there.
Yeah, not the professor.
Bouncing balls off foreheads.
Although there was some
around Harrow action.
Yeah,
I mean that move he made on the baseline underneath the basket was pretty spectacular.
Yeah, that was pretty nice.
Yeah,
but
I mean that's probably the most spectacular move in Diddle so far this year, I believe.
But
I think I turned the game off by that point.
Oh, okay.
Well, I was sitting courtside. I didn't have a turn off button, but I think they just relied on a lot of I could have a lot of one-on-one action, and Western just didn't play good defense down the stretch.
Woody, from the game that you saw before you turned it off, what did you see?
I hardly ever turn games off. It was just that kind of night, I guess. But there's very little I question Coach Harper on that I will fault him on very rarely, because I think he's an awesome coach, and I think he's going to definitely get us where we want to be as far as our program goes. But the one thing this season, man, it seems like every game at the start of the second half, I don't know what it is.
Yeah. Those
first 5 minutes or that 4-minute segment or whatever, we just come out flat. We can't hit shots.
Yep.
I think all 6 of our losses, the teams that we lost to put out like a 10-0 run to start in the second half.
Yeah, you've seen that a lot this year.
And that's just, I talked to Chad Bishop during the game. I said, why don't you ask Coach Harper that during the post game? I don't know if he did or not. But
he probably did.
Chad doesn't like me, so probably not. But
if he did, he'll take credit for
that's
it.
That's right. But I don't know what it is. I don't know if we just sort of lose focus at halftime. But hopefully that's going to be something that gets addressed soon, because that's, like I said, all of our losses can, you can look at that, and that's sort of where it's happened.
Yeah, we were talking about it before we went on the air, but we talk about the additions of CHD and Trinity Jackson, how they've really helped us and benefited us so far. But it seemed like that Georgia State was doing everything that we need to do on offense in the second half, which is driving to the lane. I mean, and sometimes they just had like wide open layups. Nobody was underneath.
Just driving. And Western was bringing over help defense, and then they were just dishing it off down low for a wide open slam dunk.
Saw a lot of dish dunks to Washington. I mean, he probably had like 5 dunks in the game. But, their forwards did a really good job, too. They're tall and lengthy, and that gave us trouble inside. Nobody could really drive the lane when they did. Block shots, I think they had 7 total.
And they did a good job, spacing the floor to be able to do the one-on-one drives to the basket and create those mismatches.
Yeah, I mean, and you saw it in the second half, not only Harrell, but the other guard, the smaller guard. I mean, he did a tremendous job, too, doing the same thing Harrell was doing. And he could really hit mid-range jumpers really well. And that's another thing too. You get past your defender, you drive the lane. You've got options. You can either take it to the basket if nobody's there underneath to defend you, especially. And then if you pull it for a mid-range jumper, make the defense collapse, dish it off to the guy that's ready to dunk, and that's what they did on a consistent basis. So like you said, Shane, I mean they were on fire in the second half too. So
but still from watching that game, I still think everything aside, I think. Overall, Western is still the better team. I think Georgia State is way ahead of where Western is on the offensive end of the ball, but I still think overall Western is the better team. And I think as the season progresses, and we talked about this too, I think come March that might be more our time than their time.
Now I'll be devil's advocate here, Shane, because we just
Go
lost.
ahead.
They lost by 23 points.
Debbie Downer.
Correct?
Go ahead. Let's go.
There may be some realistic WKU fans out there that say, man, you're crazy. Western's not the better team than Georgia State right now. So why do you think that Western will be the better team?
I'm just saying all-around game. And Harper's history has been his teams get better throughout the year. And you got to think, Trincy and CHD, they're still only a few games in. I mean, they're still not, don't even have half a season under their belt yet, like the rest of the guys. But, when tournament time comes, a lot of things that we saw going on in that game that it won't fly. The game is going to be a little more physical. They won't call some of the foul calls they had. And I'm not trying to blame the refs because as Harper said,
why not?
After the game, he said his mom could have officiated that, and they still wouldn't have been able to do anything.
Yeah, that was a pretty epic quote right there.
That was a good one.
But he added another choice word in front of that his mom couldn't do it.
Get banned.
But I just think as the season progresses, Western tends to get a little tougher. I think March is built for defensive teams, and Western is by far the better defensive team. I mean, it's not even close.
March is Harper's time. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
I mean, he's proven
it
that.
is.
I think at some point we're going to see Alex Rostov and Aaron Adeoye sort of turn the corner.
Yeah.
You got to do something.
I mean, they're going to have to step up. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. Well, we got about 2 minutes left. Why don't we preview the games coming up this weekend?
Big week this week.
Or this week.
Little Rock and State.
I'm already stepping ahead. What do you guys see with Thursday night, Little Rock? What do you think? Western wins,
I
bounces
think we
back.
get the win. I think we got pretty good success against them.
Yep. I think they'll bounce back.
Okay.
I think we'll sweep this week. Both
Sweep?
Arkansas teams.
All right.
I'll go with
2
that.
home wins.
I said before the season we wouldn't lose a home game. Obviously, we lost. I guess is it 2 in a row now? Ole Miss and Georgia State.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I think we learned our lesson. Hopefully against Georgia State.
Okay.
If we see us bounce back and have success this week, I'll feel good about where the season's going again.
We talk about Little Rock. Of course, they play Arkansas State Saturday. Which of these two teams is the best team in your opinion? Is it Arkansas State?
State probably has more talent. I'd say Little Rock's probably a little better coached.
Yeah. I probably agree with that.
That feels right.
Okay. Feels right, man.
Feels right? Hey.
Feels right. Well, what do you see as far as obviously, I think we play Georgia State again on the road, right?
Mm-hmm. We do.
What do you think? How do you think that's going to go down?
That's a long ways to go.
Long ways to go.
We'll see.
All right. Well, you're offering me a lot of insight there, fellas. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. You didn't give us your insight, though, by the way. You're just asking for our opinion. You're just asking the questions.
I got to steer the ship here.
Okay.
But I think Western will bounce back and probably win these next 2 games. I mean, I think they have to. I think Harper's going to teach them a real big lesson.
Well, we'll see you next week, then. Thanks for joining in. And
same TopperTalk time, same TopperTalk channel. Go Tops!
Go Tops!
On the next Main Street, Premium Kentucky. Our first stop is a new brand of distillery raising spirits in South Central Kentucky. Then cruise with us up to Smith's Grove.